Published 1821 Est, the 9th of November 2017. Updated 2110 Est, the 9th of November 2017. Teenage thugs should face harsher and more effective prison sentences to break the cycle of crime, Britain's top police officer has said. Cressida Dick warned years of attempting to keep young offenders out of jail had created a hardcore who were simply not fearful of the courts. The Scotland Yard chief suggested the worst young offenders should be locked up sooner, and for longer, as a real deterrent to criminals, and to protect communities. Scroll down for video. Cressida Dick warned years of attempting to keep young offenders out of jail had created a hardcore who were simply not fearful of the courts. Shay revealed one 16-year-old in South London had not served a single day in jail despite being responsible for 42 offences, involving violence, weapons and drugs, in less than 3 years. In a speech to penal reformers, Ms. Dick said it was time to be realistic and questioned whether it had been right to try to keep teenage criminals out of prison for all lower-level offences, suggesting custodial sentences that actually deter people. The Metropolitan Police Commissioner said the threat of longer jail terms could stop youngsters from turning to crime in the first place. I and a number of my officers are seeing an increasing number of young people in London who are simply not fearful of how the state will respond to their actions, Ms. Dick said. The Scotland Yard chief suggested the worst young offenders should be locked up sooner, and for longer, as a real deterrent to criminals, and to protect communities. Successive governments have urged courts to treat yobs leniently, with David Cameron calling on people to hug who they don't see imprisonment as particularly likely or a serious threat, and it does not in any sense deter them from criminal activity. At what point does the state prioritise its duty to protect the public and ensure that young people could see the criminal justice system as something that will catch up with them? In Leicester, in August, a 16-year-old walked free after assaulting 5 people, obstructing a police officer and racially abusing another. Magistrates handed him a 12-month youth rehabilitation order and 40 hours of unpaid work after his lawyer said he had been drinking and was ashamed of his behaviour. A 14-year-old in Sunderland avoided prison in April after raping a girl in a field. Prosecutors said the victim had been left suicidal, but the judge was told that sentencing guidelines say the court's priority should be the welfare of the defendant. The boy was given a 12-month supervision order, a curfew and community work. I am legally obliged to focus on your welfare and need for training, the judge said. In February, 4 teenagers who left a 77-year-old woman with a fractured skull after throwing rocks at taxis in Birmingham escaped prison. The boys, aged between 15 and 17, were each given a 1-year youth rehabilitation order and a curfew. A district judge told the gang that if they were adults they would have been jailed for a lengthy period, adding that it was incredibly fortunate nobody had been killed by their reckless actions. The number of under-18s in young offender institutions has fallen from 3,000 in 2007 to around 860 today. Successive governments have urged courts to treat yobs leniently, with David Cameron calling on people to hug who. Sentencing guidelines say judges must focus on the welfare and training needs of young criminals, and use jail as an absolute last resort. But Ms. Dick called on policymakers to consider whether violent teenagers should face harsher and more effective prison sentences. She pointed out that young people are jailed for an average of 16 months, and highlighted figures which show 2 in 3 commit another crime within a year of being released. In her address to the Howard League for Penal Reform, she said they will only serve half, so it's 8 months, and we're seeing these people returning to the same context, same friends and same, perhaps even more, destructive outlook on their lives. Ms. Dick added, "Do we yet again need to think about the incarceration of young people? Is it absolutely the right thing that we have sought to avoid putting young people in prison for all lower-level offences?" Suggested the case of the teenager with 42 convictions showed the system was failing, saying we have to ask ourselves what is it about the system that is not working. How is he offending so much and how is he able to? He is by no means alone. The sentences need to be longer and more effective when used in relation to young people, no matter how hard that is for many of us to think about. Last year, 26,236 criminals under 18 were sentenced by courts, with just 1,598, around 1 in 16, locked up. Police chiefs are concerned by research showing young first-time offenders are committing more serious and more violent crimes. Mystic called for more imaginative resolutions, but added, should we couple that with harsher, more effective sentencing, where it is clear other approaches are no longer working, with custodial sentences that do actually deter people. She said she did not want to see more children in jail, but I have to be realistic. We need to give more real deterrence, and we need to use the opportunity that prison could give to better ensure children don't re-offend. The Howard League's Francis Crook said it is unusual for a police officer to comment on areas outside their expertise, like sentencing. We were surprised the commissioner did not concentrate on the great success of her force at dealing with children in the community.